Welcome, baseball fans, to episode 2.5. We're calling it episode 2.5 because it's not a full episode, but we're going to be talking about the World Baseball Classic. Today, we finally got the rosters. We've been waiting for this day. We've been waiting for something. And today, we got a lot of it. We have a lot of information to go through and go over, and predictions, first round predictions, top 5 teams of the World Baseball Classic, all that good stuff. Mr. Jon, hi. How you feeling?
Mr. Yeyo, I am feeling like better than expected, to be honest with you. I mean, I was telling you, I was watching this on the edge of my seat as if, they didn't know these rosters well in advance. I was watching this like it was March Madness, like bracket selection. Is my team going to get in? I mean, I was fired up, and I thought they did a good job on MLB Network.
Yeah.
Bring like I don't know what I was thinking in my head. I thought it was gonna just be boring, and I was gonna love it because I love the WBC. But they did a really good job of getting me fired up for it. And I mean, this was better than the offseason. And the Mets had a good offseason.
Wow.
To me, this was better than the offseason.
Wow.
This is like,
okay.
Yeah, maybe I'm getting carried away in the moment, but
Maybe.
I was fired up. I was very fired up. I'm still fired up. And it's not, what I love is that it's not that far away. It's like a month away now. So yep. I'm stoked, man. I'm stoked. I'm stoked to talk about it and kind of see what you think, see what I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost that time. We did get a lot of information. We also had some big names that are not going to be on teams because you mentioned like we knew a lot of these teams. Maybe we didn't. There were some names missing. We actually tweeted it out. Hey, make sure to follow us on Twitter at BAI_podcast. We're going to be looking at Twitter. If you're watching here on YouTube or if you're watching the video of this, you'll see us scrolling to the teams. We're going to show you the lineups and go through them. Again, there's going to be some teams that we have absolutely no idea how some of these players are. There's some teams that may have 1 or 2 major leaguers. Probably not going to go too much in depth in those teams. I don't think, sometimes we get a surprise team. And we may not cover that surprise team this year.
And that's why they're a surprise, right?
Yeah.
Because we don't know much about them.
We do not know much about them.
There is a lot of major league talent just about on every roster. Some more than others, but yeah, it's a good breakdown.
There's a lot of big names. And we're going to start with Pool A, right? And we're going to go right in that same order that the WBC Twitter page has. And we're going to start with Team Netherlands. And Team Netherlands, they've had a good history, right? They've been in the pool. We know the Pool D is the toughest. We'll get that out of the way right now. And Netherlands have been a part of that pool in the past, in previous World Baseball Classic. But they always show up, and they made it to the semifinals last time around. They have a very similar team. We got a couple names that jump out you. We got Valentin. He hit like 700, had that.
WBC legend.
I mean,
WBC legend.
Until Edwin Diaz struck him out. Electric stuff there in the semifinal game against Puerto Rico. And they got their regular infield, right? They got Bogarts, they got Didi, they got Anderson Simmons as well, Jonathan Scope, Profar. So they got some major league talent there for sure. On the bullpen pitching, not as much. I've read about Kenley Jansen not being available until the semifinals. Apparently, that's not the case. His name is there. Some players are not going to be available first round, and they'll be able to switch some stuff up. So that may be the case with Kenley Jansen here. Especially it's spring training. Not everybody's ready, but Team Netherlands. What jumps out at you?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're solid. I don't want to say they have a history at the WBC because the tournament isn't even that long. Years go by, so it's not always the same players, but they do kind of have a history, and some of these players have been there before. I always think of, when I'm thinking WBC, who can hit the real major league pitching, who can hit the major league curveball. I think a lot of these guys can when you look at their lineup. They're major leaguers. There's going to be holes in the lineup, obviously, but you can't just pitch around everybody. You can pitch around a couple guys there. But eventually you're going to get to someone who has big league at-bats, big league experience. And to me, it's a solid. They're not in the toughest group. I think they're one of the 2 best teams. We'll obviously go over the brackets, but it's either them or Cuba in Pool A, I think fairly comfortably. And then who knows what happens. So I think they put together, as good a roster as can be expected.
And I think, they do have major league talent. Like you mentioned, it's not the toughest of groups, which gives them an advantage. And once you advance through that first stage, anything can happen after that. We've seen that, right? So, teams start getting kind of like rally around each other and playing better, and that chemistry. That's how Team Rubio was born for Puerto Rico last time. It wasn't in the first round. So, interesting to see. Interesting roster. Good major league talent that are going to battle. They're really going to battle those good baseball players that always comes out of Netherlands. So, maybe we'll learn another name or two. And then Team Cuba, I'll let you handle this one because you're Cuban. So I'll let you handle this one. And I know there's some history being made for the first time ever. There's some major leaguers that are going to be playing for Team Cuba. So I'll let you take care of this one.
Yeah, so I think first of all, so kind of like you said with the Netherlands, that maybe and this can go for a lot of teams, right? But guys can surprise you. Obviously, I like Cuba. I follow Cuba. But even if you follow Cuban baseball, you don't really have a lot of information about a lot of these guys. But you do know that there's a lot of guys on the island down there that some of them happen to be really good. It's always kind of interesting every time they call to the bullpen. Is this going to be the next 19-year-old Chapman that no one's ever heard of that comes out throwing 100? There's always that little bit of an it factor. You add in the big league guys. Luis Robert, Jon Moncada, obviously White Sox. Say his name, top guy. Say it. Erisbel
Arruebarrena.
Right.
That's the one.
He obviously had a very short major league career, but again, he was there. Alfredo de España, we've followed him. We've seen him. He's one of the home run leaders in Cuba. And it's a high level over there. So I think it's interesting. Obviously, like you said, history being made. First time ever that, people who have defected or left the island are, representing the team in a national tournament. To be honest with you, I have a little bit of mixed feelings about that. I mean, I think some of the other Cuban players even said that. We see Arozarena, later on. He's actually playing for Mexico. He's Cuban. I don't know everything that goes into that. Kind of a weird thing, trying to just ignore it, try and enjoy the product on the field, see how interesting it is, or see how exciting it is. But it's definitely an interesting side note. And Cespedes, for sure, my boy. I'm excited to see him. He may go 0 for 20 because who knows when he last saw live pitching, but he also may hit one out of the stadium. So I think he still lengthens that lineup. That's what I look for in the WBC, is a guy, like you said, is if Yoenis Cespedes is hitting 5th or 6th, I don't think anyone from the Netherlands or anyone else in that group is saying easy out. You throw him a 91-mile-an-hour fastball and miss your spot, he's going to hit it pretty far.
You have to think he's the veteran presence there, right? Alfredo de España, that you mentioned, he played in Japan. Big home run guy, big guy. The Moncada and Robert, they've played each other. They play with each other over there at Chicago. But it's weird because the major league players cannot practice with the Cuban team because they're in Cuba, and the major league players cannot go there. So we'll see how that dynamic is. But I'm excited just because it's a step in the right direction. Hopefully in the future it can keep adding major league. There's a lot of major league talent. Cuban major league talent in the MLB. Right. So this is a good start. I think it's a good team. Again, Cuba has a long history of good baseball players. And I think, again, we're probably going to learn a couple names, and I wouldn't be shocked. Now, they've been struggling. They finished second in the first World Baseball Classic back in 2003 or 2006, whenever it was. And they haven't really done much since. So maybe that's why they're like, bring on some of those MLB talent because we need some extra help.
100%. And those teams, I remember, had Cespedes, had Yuli Gurriel, had Jose Abreu. I mean, you look at it now and you're like, that's daunting. But that's what's cool about the WBC, especially I think in Cuba's case, is there'll probably be some names on this list that right now we don't know, and we'll probably see them in the big leagues at some point.
Yep. And I'm curious to see Yoenis Cespedes again. I feel like it's been a while. Apparently he had broken both of his ankles in that horse, whatever. There's something happened with Cespedes. Glad he's back. Probably not back in the major leagues, but at least representing Cuba. This is probably his farewell tour, I would imagine.
Yep.
Italia. We got Italy here. think the manager is Mike Piazza. Kind of cool.
Love it.
Right? He looks
Love
like
it.
he can still play. One of the best catchers
Yep.
in the history of baseball. They got a couple major leaguers, David Fletcher. Vinny Pasquantino is expected to have a good year. He already started his career after a very productive rookie campaign. Nicky Lopez.
Great name. And on Team Italy,
it can't get much more Italian than that, right?
just make him the team captain.
But Matt Harvey doesn't really sound much Italian, but he's in the bullpen. And it is not 2015, it's actually 2023. You're a Mets fan. When you see Matt Harvey, does it bring back some cool memories from the Dark Knight days?
It does. I mean, it brings back. He was there with Cespedes.
Yeah.
Those guys brought me a lot of good memories.
No championships, but memories. Sorry, go ahead. My bad. That's on me.
I mean, what was that?
That was not.
What was that?
Totally uncalled for. Right. I'm sorry.
No, it's same thing. I mean, I think Matt Harvey's been washed up for a while, probably since the elimination game in the World Series that we won't talk about. But again, you need some guys that have faced big leaguers. I mean, whether he's washed up or not, I don't know that, some of these other teams they're playing, I don't know that the hitters are going to intimidate him, Yeah. Maybe he gets rocked, maybe he doesn't, but if you're Italy, you need guys like that there, 100%. So I think, those guys are also some of the ones that are most fired up. I mean, Matt Harvey probably thinks if he goes out and dominates, maybe he latches on somewhere, which, he's probably right, to be honest with you. If you're a decent pitcher and you make an impression, people get hurt all the time. People get hurt in spring training. People get hurt in April. All of a sudden, you're in AAA. All of a sudden, you're pitching, in July. It's that easy, Matt. Just
keep grinding. Go play for Italy.
If you follow these steps, you will be pitching. But no, I mean, what can you do with Italy? I think some of these teams, it's still good for them to be qualifying consistently. So, yeah, good step for them.
Yeah, and I can see them winning a game or two maybe, right? So they got some pieces there, but nothing that scares you or anything. Moving over to Panama, whereas we're almost done with the Group A. Panama has the best caps of all the entire World Baseball Classic.
Yep.
Caps are out. They're sick. I thought about buying one. I didn't, but because I got to buy the Puerto Rico one. But the Panama caps are
But it
solid.
is a P. It is a P.
Ooh, good point. Good point. Other than that, I mean, this team, they have Justin Lawrence, major leaguer there. They got Jaime Barria. But it's just
Christian
not much there.
Betancourt, major leaguer. Ruben Tejada, also member of the 2015 New York Mets.
I mean, all the 2015 New York Mets are in this tournament. Crazy. Yeah. How far they've fallen. But never mind. I think we can move on from Panama, right? There's not much to say about Panama. Couple major leaguers.
They're here. We're happy they're here.
But I don't think they're a team to beat. And talking about teams that are team to beat, Chinese Taipei. Panama I think is better than Chinese Taipei. Again, I know.
Yeah, who do you got your eye on in Chinese Taipei? Tell us a little bit.
Nothing. I know close to nothing when it comes to this. But that's the excitement thing. Like, that's the exciting thing about this tournament, that I am going to get to watch real baseball. It's good quality baseball.
I'll watch all of it.
I'll watch all of it, and I'll start listening to some stories. I'll start looking into some of these players.
Yes.
And I cannot wait to learn some things about some of these players. So
yeah, the storylines develop as you go along, which is awesome.
100%. Pool B, and we got some big names in Pool B, starting with Team Japan. Again, there's some names that are not going to be in the tournament, but one that is in the tournament is Shohei Ohtani. On a free agent season, he's on both sides, position players and pitchers, because he does it all. He's Shohei Ohtani, and he's actually playing for Japan. He won the MVP a couple years back, finished second in the race to an historic judged season, and he said yes to Japan. I wish more people would be like this. But aside from them, they have the third best odds of the entire World Baseball Classic. As a Red Sox fan, I'm excited to see Masataka Yoshida. We signed him to a 5-year deal over there at Boston, so I cannot wait to see what he does. And one thing I learned, you mentioned about how good of a job MLB Network did with this show. They said something I kind of knew but forgotten about it. Japan is the only team to finish top 3 in every single World Baseball Classic. And
Yes.
I mean, they play very good baseball over in Japan, and that's the reason why they finished top 3. They still got a few major leaguers as well. You got Lars Nootbaar over there. A lot of people love him. Again, Ohtani. There's a lot of hype in their pitching. They apparently have the best rotation, including another stud other than Ohtani. So, Team Japan, I would probably say we'll get to the bracket, but they almost have a bye.
The thing with Japan is we know now like the level that Japanese baseball is, right? In general, forget about this roster that we're looking at. You already know they're going to be good just because, one, they play a very team-oriented baseball. I mean, it is a little bit different than maybe in the major leagues and some other places. Just the way it's taught. So they're putting together a good product, even if you don't recognize any of the names. But then the ones you do recognize, Ohtani, Suzuki, they have Darvish and Ohtani 1-2 in that rotation. Like you said, there's a couple other pitchers there that, maybe we haven't followed it too much, but we're told already that they're studs. They're exciting to watch.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I
they
think
they can go as far as anyone.
They can win it all. And I think it's also an advantage to them that they don't really face major league talent. So it's an advantage to them because major league hitters don't know what's coming or don't have much, obviously there's analytical teams and all that give that information, but it's not the same. Yeah, these guys throw 102. Yeah, it's very fast. It's still tough to hit.
And the hitters never looked overmatched ever in any of the tournaments. I remember watching it, and you may know, and they'll say this guy's 20 years old and he's just got moved up, and he's up there, and you're like, this guy can hit.
Yeah.
He may not get a hit now, but this guy can hit, and I love it. I love watching Japan play because it's such a high level game that's still a little bit different to ours here in the United States. So it's kind of got that interesting twist, but it translates. I mean, it really
100%.
translates.
And it's shown. They've shown it every single World Baseball Classic. So excited to see Team Japan. Excited to see Shohei Ohtani. Hopefully at some point we get a Ohtani-Trout matchup there. I know they asked Trout over there at the MLB Network. So excited about that. Moving over to Korea and the KBO. We've talked about the KBO and how they do play good baseball there as well. Tommy Edman is going to be on this squad as well. And again, we may not know a lot of the names, but we know the kind of baseball that they play over there. So,
I don't know. I don't really know anyone on this list. I do know that the KBO is on the roster.
Well,
I'm being just completely honest.
But Tommy Edman.
Honest. Yes, I do know Tommy Edman.
Well, here's more names that you might not know a whole lot in Team Australia roster. And yeah, they're just not necessarily known for their baseball. And when you look at some names here, obviously, one big name that's missing is Liam Hendriks, right? He's kind of like the face of Australian baseball.
Yes.
We know what he's going through. So that's a big name that they're missing in the bullpen. But, I really don't know how much of an impact it would have really had if it was on the team.
Just because of the position that he plays.
Correct.
Obviously, wish him well, yeah.
Yeah, and it's going to be March. Again, a lot of these pitchers are going to be restricted to a certain amount of pitch count and whatnot. So, even with starters. And China. Yeah, we're going to skip China. I think we're good with China. Czech Republic, I think this is probably the weakest of the group. That's why I said earlier, I think Japan is probably just basically getting
Why do you say that, Yeyo?
I mean, because it's just not, they're just not a rich history of baseball, not a lot of great players that we know of. Like sometimes you mentioned Cuba before, right? We knew about the Gurriels before they went there. We don't know anything about any of
I'll
many
tell
of
you
these
what,
guys.
they're tacking this up as bulletin board material in the locker room.
Well, I hope they do, and good luck. Give us good baseball. And listen. One of the reasons why I became a Red Sox fan was because they were underdog. They hadn't won in like 80 years. I love the underdog. I'm going to always root for the underdog most of the time, unless they face Team Puerto Rico. But let's move over to the Pool C. And John, you tweeted out a couple days ago that your dark horse team was Mexico. And then when we saw the roster, it's like, wait a minute. John was right.
Viva Mexico.
I
Viva
mean,
Mexico. I'm not even sure that they're a dark horse anymore.
they're
I
not.
mean, I'm not saying they're a favorite. When I kind of picked them, I said long shot. Like who's a cool long shot that could overperform? Um, and then I saw they've got Taiwan Walker, Julio Urias. I
Urias.
mean, I start thinking about those, and we'll look at the group again. But there's one big game in every group that you have to win. They could probably win it just with those guys. They stole a Rosarena away,
Yep.
Rowdy Telez,
I mean, a lot of
Alex
major league
Verdugo.
talent, a lot of major league talent in that lineup, and the pitching wise as well. You got Giovanni Gallegos over there, so I mean, I'm excited about Mexico, and you know how Mexico plays. There's not many countries that are more prideful to represent their country. I guarantee you that all these guys are gonna go out and just play like it's their last game. Um,
And they've been
so
on the rise. Wouldn't you say Mexican baseball, just overall, you've kind of known that it's getting better?
I mean,
Um,
yeah, we've seen
I mean, it's
some of
been
these
good
guys.
for a
Yeah,
while. Yeah, I mean, it's been good for a while, but now you see more guys even during the offseason going down to the Mexican League. You see the
yep.
clips. They're pretty cool. The team's getting better and better.
Like
Hopefully they make me look really smart. But I mean, aside from that, I do like the roster. Again, there's length. There's guys that aren't going to necessarily be
yeah.
shying away from studs that they may face on the mound and stuff like that. So good team by Mexico.
Again, you mentioned there's at least one big name per round. You might need a Julio Urias for that, or Equity, that they've pitched in big games. They've won
Yeah.
World Series. That experience is going to help because the atmosphere in the World Baseball Classic is absolutely electric. So
It's sick.
that's you need people with experience, and they have that, especially in the pitching side of things. Sometimes you're gonna need to win those 3-2 games.
Yep.
So moving over to Canada, one name that jumps right up, it should be in extremely bold letters. Is Freddie Freeman, obviously one of the best first basemen in Major League Baseball. There's Bo Naylor,
Yep.
Young up and coming prospect. Tyler O'Neill looking to bounce back from a rough 2022 season. Other than that, I saw John Axford. I was like, wow, I haven't seen that name in a while.
Blast from the past. Yeah.
How there's no way he's throwing 95. So I'm just curious to see some of these guys. I like seeing Nick Pivetta there getting some reps for the Red Sox. But what do you think about Canada?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I almost expected them to be a little better without any real logical thinking of it. I just kind of expected them to be a little bit better. I feel like in another group, they have a chance. You know what I mean? In some of those easier groups we were saying. I also feel like, and this is the case in the WBC, one or two more players, again, that lineup looks a lot deeper with Freddie Freeman in there, right? If you could protect them with one or two guys, they really can't. You know, if you had two other guys, you got Freddie Freeman, you got Bo Naylor, two other guys, you don't. So tough spot for them, but they do have big league names, like you said, Pivetta, Quantrill. I haven't, a lot of these names that we're seeing, who knows what they still have left. But it's that we don't expect to do much. But
It's a big name in Freddie Freeman. You could probably pitch around him and kind of like let somebody else try to beat you. I think that's what the strategy of some of these opposing teams are going to take. Yeah. Looking at Great Britain, their roster, again, not a lot of Major League talent. They got Trace Thompson, which is Klay Thompson's brother from the Warriors. He's going to be a starter for the Dodgers this year. Pitching wise, there's just Vance Worley. There's some talent there, some Major League talent there, but expectations are low. That would be a surprise. And talking about surprise, Team Colombia was a surprise team in the past. They beat the U.S. and they've had, or the Dominican. They've had some big wins. They've advanced through first round. And looking at it, I think that helped Colombian baseball, right? So you see, that's when they started talking about people in Colombia want to play baseball. Jorge Alfaro, Major League talent there. You got Harold Ramirez. Tito Polo is a great name. Donovan Solano, Gio Urshela. There's a lot of Major League talent there. Pitching-wise, that's where you probably see kind of like a little bit of a dip. Julio Teheran might be done. Jose Quintana. But yeah, Colombia, again, anything can happen. And they got some talent there that, Oscar Mercado as well, that can sneak in a win or two and have an upset or two again.
Yeah, I think they have a shot, to be honest with you, to be the second best team in the group. It's USA, Mexico. I think they're better than Canada. I don't think they're better than Mexico, but baseball short series. I mean, this isn't technically a series, but it's just a couple games.
Yep. It's gonna be interesting.
I think I don't expect them to go very far, but a couple balls bounce their way. A couple of big leaguers hit some home runs, like we say. And I think they put together a competitive team.
All you want to do is advance, and one team that we think it's gonna one team that we think it's gonna advance is Team USA, roster full of just all-stars, and Kyle Higashioka. That's basically the roster.
Oh, that's
bad.
Uncalled for.
Uncalled for. Honestly, I wasn't expecting him to be on the team. We've seen rosters.
He was expecting it.
He got a call maybe last night about that, but again, other than that, it's a stacked lineup, deep. They got a lot. Obviously, it's shortstop. They're gonna play Trey Turner one game. You saw De Rosa on the show talk about Trey Turner one game, Tim Anderson another. You really don't lose a whole lot there. Bobby Witt Jr. is there. The captain is gonna be there. Mike Trout, MVP, Paul Goldschmidt, Mookie, Arenado. Like Pete Alonso is gonna hit bombs. Pitching wise, you got some. Obviously veteran with young guys it's tough. They're going to be tough.
Feels like they could have done a little bit more with the pitchers, I think, and we haven't got to the DR lineup yet, but I think that's where they fall short. I'll be honest with you. Maybe you want to wait till we see the DRs to see this, but I think their lineup is on par with the DR.
I agree.
If you look at it, to be completely honest. I mean, if you say one or the other, you're just kind of, picking hairs at this point. Yep. There's not much. I mean, Pete Alonso, Nolan Arenado, Mookie Betts, Goldschmidt, Mike Trout, Kyle Tucker.
They might have the best lineup.
I think there's a really good chance. And I think, maybe the pitching is what lets them down. But then again, how much does pitching matter with these lineups? Like, you're trying to win the slugfest, most likely, especially with guys being on pitch counts and things like that.
Yeah.
First to 20 runs wins. But these could be the most meaningful games we ever see Mike Trout in.
That was talking about uncalled for. Not wrong. Not necessarily wrong. He hasn't been in the playoffs. He's been in the playoff one time. I think he played 3 games, right? But it's sad. I love the fact, though, that, obviously after they won it all, you get these big names wanting to play. And that's awesome, right? It may be the last time. I know Arenado said, I'm probably not going to be ready for the next World Baseball Classic, so I'm going to enjoy this one. Yes, Mike Trout might not have bigger games than here. It might be a finals against the DR or Japan. We'll look at the brackets a little bit later.
Can I say something about Mike Trout?
You want to say something about Mike Trout?
Probably the best baseball player alive right now. Okay, or arguably, I would say. Mm-hmm. This guy can't be the face of MLB. Did you see his interview today?
Why you hate? He's a calm dude that doesn't want the attention.
He has no personality. He has nothing. They've been trying for years to drag just a little bit of personality out of him. I was watching this on TV. They were trying. They were feeding him lines. They were putting the ball on the tee. He's Mike Trout. He's the best hitter on the planet potentially, but he can't do it. He just can't do it.
You're just hating on Mike Trout.
We say, I mean, I can't. It's been years now. People say that MLB doesn't know how to market.
Two things can be true. Yeah.
2 things can be true. He does nothing. He does absolutely nothing. He should just stop doing the interviews. Just play. And we'll just say you're the greatest player and you don't talk. And that's fine.
And I think, like, when we talk about baseball,
out of nowhere, sorry.
Yeah, you've been holding that in for a while. But when we talk about baseball,
let that out.
When we talk about baseball, we talk about the faces of baseball. There's usually not just one, right? So everyone keeps trying to find one face of baseball, whatever. The player has to play his part, right, to put his face out there. But you need multiple. You can say Mike Trout is one of the faces of baseball because he's probably the greatest player of his generation. He's still kind of like obviously well known and all this, but personality wise, in front of the mic, he's just not that guy. He doesn't care to be that guy either. So I think there's multiple faces of baseball. I still consider him one of the faces of baseball. He's obviously the face of Team USA for a reason. He's just not, maybe he's different in private, right? But
so I will say there's a silver lining, and I do think Mike Trout is a great baseball player. This has nothing to do with that. The silver lining is I like the way the direction baseball MLB is moving, because I don't feel like they need him to be that guy anymore. There are other guys. Shohei Ohtani came in already and is just super popular.
Yeah.
You get a lot of guys now. Jazz Chisholm, like we said, when you talk about faces of baseball potentially, he's overperforming even his talent right now. So I think there are guys coming on the scene that can carry that. And I got really sidetracked there, so I apologize. But I had to let that out.
And he plays in a big market. He plays in LA, so I think that's, he's still in a lot of commercials. He's still in a lot of things. But you're talking more about the personality in itself that he just
I want to see him in meaningful games. I want to see him in the ninth with the game on the line, a little bit of a legacy thing.
Hopefully, we get to see some big moments here in for Team USA. They're going to advance. Let's go back and find, WBC. Let's go ahead and find Pool D. And this is the toughest one. And everybody's talking about this one. Pool D as the pool of death. We talked about this earlier. And it did not disappoint. There's some big names, obviously, that are not going to be here, but there's some names that are here. Starting with the DR. Everybody was talking about probably the greatest lineup ever assembled. And I think the U.S. is a little bit better, maybe, right? The fact that you don't have Jose Ramirez, that's a big blow. Starling Marte is better than, I would rather have Starling Marte than Tio or Nelson Cruz. Nelson Cruz is the GM, and he's like, yeah, I'm going with Cano and myself over with J-Ram and whoever else. Interesting. But however, they are absolutely stacked, because when you look at that pitching, is probably that's the best pitching ever assembled. That could be the best pitching any team has ever had. Obviously, they're the favorites for a reason as well. Like even if you think that the U.S. lineup is better, you don't think it's that much better than this. No. So it's just full of future Hall of Famers.
I think it's exactly what you said. So I actually do think, looking at it now, and it's probably the two players that you named, Jose Ramirez being left off.
It's a big one.
And Starling Marte. I think those two not being there give the edge to the U.S. And this is just barely, right? I mean, they're almost the same. I think it actually gives the edge to the U.S. on the lineup, but the pitchers is kind of significantly better, I think. Again, I don't know how that plays out, because in a hypothetical matchup between these two teams, I don't know that any pitchers, I mean, Sandy Alcantara can, obviously, right? But how long is he going to go? I mean, if he were going 9 innings, 7 innings, that's a different story. But I don't know that any of these offenses can be held down. So when you start looking at, these are bullpen games, I mean, it's just going to be,
and that's the thing,
absolutely awesome.
And that's the thing. If they match up late, obviously, if they match up, it's going to be late in the tournament. Sandy Alcantara would probably be able to go 5 or 6, just like Stroman did in the finals, right? That's a solid 5 or 6, because after that, you got guys like Brian Abreu, and then you have Camilo Doval, and then you have Christian Javier and Rafael Montero and Gregory Soto. Like, these are the best of the best in Major League Baseball, and they're all in one team. So, again, they're the favorite for a reason. It's not like the offense is amazing. I just find it interesting that Cano is there. Nelson Cruz, obviously, is the GM, put himself in, I guess. But that change of J-Ram and Cano last second feels kind of odd, especially a couple days ago. J-Ram had a live Instagram. He went live on Instagram.
He was excited.
Hey, for those that don't know, I'm out here getting ready. DR, all in. Something happened. And we might never know what happened, but that is Team Dominican Republic. And Team Puerto Rico. They're somehow, the fourth, they have the 4th best odds in Vegas. No Carlos Correa. I don't think they adjusted.
You're disappointed.
I am disappointed.
What's going on?
I'm disappointed just on the fact that Correa is such a big loss. And after seeing, Correa is out for Puerto Rico and Acuna is in for Venezuela, that gives Venezuela the advantage, in my opinion. That is what made the difference. Honestly, Puerto Rico's bullpen is very solid, especially from what they're known to have. That pitching is very good. A lot of good arms, obviously, starting with the Diaz brothers. And again, the lineup is not like it's bad. I'm not saying it's bad. I just think it's that Correa. We might miss Correa, and I hope we don't. I hope we don't miss him.
No, you will.
There's still some big bats there, but yeah, I'm just disappointed in that he won't be able to play and Acuna will play for Venezuela, which is great for the tournament. Great for the tournament, might not be great for Team Puerto Rico.
Yeah, 100%. It's not that you wanted Acuna out. You like Acuna in, but you would have liked Correa in. Puerto Rico's a good team, I think, obviously.
Yeah.
Same thing with a lot of these teams that we said, just tradition and putting baseball players out in the major leagues, in their home country. It is a loss, man. It is. The Correa not being there is a loss. Like, I want to get past that, but I can't. It lengthens the lineup. That left side of the infield with him and Lindor was going to be absolutely sick, and fun, right? This is an entertainment thing in a way as well. You know, I like to see that, but I wouldn't sell them short. You know, looking at that bullpen,
anything can happen.
One of the strengths. I mean, you go into the sixth with the lead. The other team is going to have to put together some quality at bats to get back into it. Nothing's going to be. Puerto Rico's not going to beat themselves. That's not the kind of letdown roster that this is. This just went from being a very, very good team to maybe a very good team, which, you know, can still do very well, I think. But I love the bullpen. I think it could develop into one of those things where if you get down against them, you're in trouble, you know, because Edwin Diaz only has to throw an inning. Yeah. You know, that's what he does normally.
And obviously, they made the finals last World Baseball Classic. The pitching wasn't nearly as good as this. They did have Correa, but Correa's missing for the most part. He's about to be a father. Like, his wife is due that week.
Right.
So he can join the team for the second round or the semifinals if they make it that far, right?
Oh, you are hopeful.
I am hopeful, but it can happen. It can happen. They can make the additions as well. So if they do survive that first round, he can always join the team later. And that would definitely change anything because obviously defensively and offensively, just one of the best players in baseball. We mentioned Acuna, and here's Venezuela's roster. Again, Acuna, Altuve, Luis Arraez, Miguel Cabrera. Miguel Cabrera is there. I don't think he has much left. This is kind of like his farewell, which is amazing.
Better than Cano, right? As far as like older guys playing.
Yeah, I mean, he actually played this year. So, you know, again, full of major leaguers, a lot of talent, pitching wise, a lot of depth as well. They are very solid. They're a little bit better than I expected. It's probably because I expected Acuna to be out with the whole drama and the Braves not saying if they're going to let him play or whatnot. But last second, hey, I'm in. And that changes Venezuela's roster.
Yeah, I think you look at it now and they flip-flopped with Puerto Rico as far as who's better. Just like their lineup is actually really, really deep if you look at it. I mean, Eduardo Escobar has had a pretty down year. He still hit 20 home runs. He's a switch hitter. They got Salvi. I mean, Eugenio Suarez is just a pure power hitter at this point. Acuna, probably back healthy. Altuve. I mean, that's a lot of names already. They're going to have to slug their way to wins because I don't know how much the bullpen can hold up. I mean, they do have some guys. They do have, as far as starters, I think a good 1-2 punch, Pablo Lopez, Jesus Luzardo. But again, I'm comparing them a lot with Puerto Rico in this group because I think that's their competition. And it's going to be strength versus weakness, kind of. Strength versus strength. You know, the pitchers, you got to keep them down. You know, your starters have to keep them down, and you have to make this lineup of really good hitters try and come back against your bullpen. I don't think it's impossible, but I think right now Venezuela is better than Puerto Rico. Their lineup is, like you said, we knew they were good. It's better than expected.
Every out, it's gonna be tough, right? Like every at bat is gonna be tough. They're gonna battle. Again, you said I was hopeful. I'm gonna say something again to be hopeful, because Venezuela, they've had obviously a long history of Major League Baseball players and one of the best countries, Latin countries of baseball. And we talked about history in WBC and anything can change. They usually underperform. A lot of the times they've been eliminated in that first round. They don't come out of that first round. So there's that as well, even though I do think that roster is absolutely stacked. One roster
so far, just real quick with the WBC, we don't have that much history, right?
Yeah.
Like if this were every year, it's just a couple years. It's hard to take those little small sample sizes, but I get it.
But
if you're a Puerto Rico fan,
it's there.
I'm taking that sample
I'm taking
size.
anything I can get. You're going full strength. I wish I was. So, but Israel. They got Alec Dickerson. They got Jock Peterson, Garrett Stubbs, a couple major leaguers there. But this is a group of death. And I think Israel and Nicaragua, I feel sorry for you guys because you're going to be facing, that's the thing. They're going to be facing Team Puerto Rico, Team DR, and Team Venezuela. These two teams have zero chance.
Who wins between them? Nicaragua or Israel? For pride. Everything on the line.
I'm gonna go Israel. They got a couple more major leaguers out there, and I'll go with that.
Bomb. They win 1-0.
Yikes! Well, that's all the teams. So here are the brackets, and I think you guys know where we're going with the brackets for the most part. Pool A, we talked about Netherlands and Cuba. Those are the two teams I'm picking. Watch out for Italy if they do beat one of the teams I previously just mentioned, but I'm going Cuba, Netherlands out of Pool A.
Yep, same thing. I think we actually end up agreeing on everything here, right?
Cuba, it didn't sound like it because you were saying I'm just hopeful. So
no, I'm hopeful with you, brother. I'm hopeful with you. Okay. Cubans and Puerto Ricans, we're brothers.
Yeah,
just islands down there.
Well,
no, Netherlands, Cuba, Pool B. I think Japan, we know, walks in. And then Korea probably gets in as well. Is that what you got?
Yeah, I got Japan. I literally call them like basically a bye. This is just a get ready, warm up games for them. I think they're that much better than the competition. They're at home. It's going to be electric. And Korea, I just think you say there's not much history of the World Baseball Classic, but there also is history in the country. And they play good baseball, right? So I'll go Korea and Japan for Pool B. Over to Pool C, I got Mexico and Colombia, and USA is going to be out round one. I mean, I'm obviously kidding. I'm obviously kidding. I'm going USA, and I'm going Mexico. Mexico surprised me with that team. I think it's a very good team. Colombia can be a surprise team again. And if they advance, it would still be a surprise because I do think on paper, Mexico is much better than Colombia.
Yeah, same thing. USA, Mexico. But what I like about Pool C and D, I think there's big games to decide who advances. Versus in the other two groups that we just mentioned, I don't think there are. I think in Pool C, there's going to be essentially a Mexico-Colombia game to decide who advances. I think that's almost a given because I think they both beat Canada. They both beat Great Britain. Probably both lose to the USA, and that's a winner advance. And then so we got them two moving on, but then Pool D is the same exact thing. I think DR's probably walking in. Again, with good competition, because all those games could be very exciting. But I can't try and get cute and pick an upset here. I think the DR wins, and then it comes down to a Puerto Rico-Venezuela game. The winner of that advances. Whether that's the last game or the first game, that game probably decides who advances, which is just awesome.
So here's the thing.
I got Puerto Rico and the DR advancing.
Oh, you're going Puerto Rico? Okay. I thought you said Venezuela was the better team. Interesting.
I got hopeful.
You're going, okay, you got hopeful. So I think when you say Dominican Republic walks in, I don't think it's as easy as the Japan walking, but I do think they're gonna be there. Obviously, I think they're just too much talent in that team. So I expect them to be in, and it's gonna come down to the Puerto Rico Venezuela game, which I'm going, and that's gonna be the second game for Puerto Rico. So Puerto Rico's schedule is gonna be Venezuela game 2, and then the last game after a day off is gonna be Team DR. So everything might come. It might be a win or go home, DR Puerto Rico, and that would be electric in Miami. That would be must-watch baseball. And trust me, must-watch baseball, I'm talking about World Series electric stuff. Like, fans are going to be...
100%. This
Like,
is
I'm not
real.
even exaggerating.
This is not like this is better than spring training, so I'll watch.
Oh, no.
This is like
World Series
you play
level.
this game anytime during the year, I'm stopping everything to watch.
Yeah, and again, Venezuela can beat Dominican Republic as well. Anybody, we've seen it, right? We've seen it before. Dominican Republic obviously have won championship before, but they've also underperformed as well. So
Yeah.
you know, anything can happen. I'm going Venezuela DR, and hope I'm wrong. Talking about hopeful, I hope that I'm wrong and that Puerto Rico advances. Maybe I'm just trying to motivate my guys.
Yeah, no, again, a little bulletin board material. Win for Yeyo, I'm sure is what they're saying.
I mean, that's what I would do. But yeah, WBC rosters are out. We are a month away. First game is going to be March 8th, and it's going to be Cuba. I cannot wait. It's probably going to be at 3 a.m. because it's in Taiwan. I don't know.
I'll be up.
But I will be waking up if it's that early. Jon, any last words?
No, it's just, well, yes. It's just awesome, man. I'm so excited. I really, really am, because it's, we've been excited. We're excited for any type of baseball, obviously. Like, I'm sure, everyone is. But we've been loving the WBC since it started. And it's gaining traction. And then it hit a little hiccup with COVID, and it's like, it's back. I'm just excited. And there's good teams. There's good storylines. There's good talent. I get to watch Cuba. I never get to see Cuba play, little things like that. I think for every country is super, super exciting, So anytime you get, different teams, different countries playing, like the Olympics, World Cup, it's just adds another level, and I can't wait.
It is the best rosters we've ever had. So it's a great sign for baseball. It's a great sign for the tournament. I am extremely excited. This is just a little episode we wanted to add here, not our regular episode. That's what we're calling it, episode 2.5. Episode 3, still expected on Monday. I think there's still some news. There was some signings today. We'll talk about all that. But again, thank you so much for listening. Make sure to drop us a follow on all social media. We got Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, whatever. Make sure to drop a follow, and we'll check you out on the next one. And we're out.
We're out. See you.